South African economy grew in the second quarter of this year. Data from Statistics South Africa shows gross domestic product increased by 0.4%, following a revised 0% growth in the first quarter. 7 out of 10 industries recorded positive growth between the first and the second quarter. The finance industry was the biggest positive contributor, adding 0.3 percentage points. It was followed by the trade, manufacturing and electricity industries. On the other hand, the transport industry contributed negatively, decreasing by 2.2%, followed by the agriculture and mining industries. Following a fall in the first quarter, expenditure on real GDP increased, improving 0.5% in the second quarter. Both household and government expenditure increased during the period, while gross fixed capital formation fell by 1.4%. Well, for more on this story, I'm joined in studio by SABC News Economics editor Tshepo Mongoai. Thanks very much, Tshepo, for joining us. So, of course, interesting to see that they've revised the first quarter, making it 0% as opposed to a contraction of 0.1%. I suppose that's good news. And then 0.4%, that was largely in line with market expectations for the second quarter.
No, absolutely. I think it came in line with most economist expectations. But is a tale of two things: improvement in electricity, and of course the concerns that we've had with regard to the election outcome. I mean, you look at the expenditure side, the gross fixed capital formation, we've seen it declining because there were a lot of concerns in terms of delayed investment by big companies who could not invest at the time, and as a result we see that declining. But government expenditure and household expenditure, that has actually improved, and as I indicated, electricity supply, that actually helped a lot, especially on the household front in terms of the expenditure there. You know, retail sales, we've seen them, so people were able to do more business around that time.
Yeah.
But it's also an issue of the base effect. If we look at the production side, manufacturing, we've seen some improvement. And remember, in the first quarter, that sector declined. So that improvement is simply just normalization of the situation, because now they have electricity, they can actually get on with the business and do what they expected to do.
But no normalization in the mining sector. It contracted for 2 consecutive quarters in the first and in the second.
Yeah, mining sector is actually under pressure. I mean, you look at coal, iron ore, diamond. In fact, diamond, for quite some time, they've been struggling. I'm actually surprised that platinum is not there. Perhaps platinum, despite a subdued price in platinum prices, they were able to produce more. But prices have not been favorable, but some of the constraints that they've experienced also contributed to that lower production that we've seen in terms of the mining sector. Agriculture, Nombu, very, very noticeable. It also declined. Contrary to the first quarter, there was an improvement.
When everything else was down.
Absolutely. So now we've seen that it's in the doldrums this time around. The El Nino phenomenon. I've actually been speaking to some of the people who actually sell agricultural products. You know, they are not seeing much business simply because there is not much activity that is happening, and concern is that might be inflation going forward, because that's where our food is coming from. So there's a bit of a concern on that front.
I personally think that we're on the right track, because there seems to be good sentiment about the GNU, even though there are people who are not for the GNU. But of course, the proof is going to be in the eating in terms of implementation of policies. So if we have the implementation of policies, and on top of that, we begin to see interest rates coming down, maybe we're going to see a brighter future in terms of the GDP numbers in future quarters.
I think the stage is set. It's all about what we do, given the space that we have. Some improvement in terms of electricity will go a long way to improve the situation in terms of getting our economy. I've seen some of the houses have revised their economic growth projections higher because there is some positive sentiment, and that translates into better investment. And we may see more companies starting to get on and invest in the local economy. As long as business is able to do what it's supposed to do, trade, I think that will go a long way. I mean, we've seen with the trade numbers there, that also performed very well, simply because business were able to run during the opening hours. So there's a lot of positive sentiment, and I think that is going to translate into also a better consumer sentiments. Business, we can see that they're quite upbeat. So when interest rates start to come down, we will see more trade, more activity happening. Although we've received a warning from the Reserve Bank that if we spend too much, that might be inflationary. But I think the stage is set for more economic activity, more economic growth. We'll deal with inflation along the way, but I think it's important to allow the economy to grow.
Tshepo, thank you very much for your insights there. That was Tshepo Mongoai. He's our economics editor here at the SABC.